look back in hindsight, everything is 2020. In hindsight, we make mistakes, we're learning from it. In hindsight, yesterday and your tomorrow. In hindsight, is so much clearer now.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to Hindsight the Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones. And on today's episode, I'm thrilled to introduce my special guest. And this is something, we were doing all this talking. And I was laying up last night thinking, is it Jay or is it Jai? Or is it Ja? It's Jay. And then here I go starting it off, never asked. All right. So I'm thrilled to introduce my special guest, Jay Salters. Jay is a proud New Yorker and a dedicated member of the United States Navy. He began his military career as a cryptologic technician, bless you, and worked his way to the rank of Chief Petty Officer before becoming a commissioned cryptologic warfare officer. Now, if these are wrong, let me know.
No, we're doing
Jay's
good.
exceptional service and commitment to his country have earned him numerous accolades, including the prestigious Spirit of the Bob Hope Award. This recognition is given to individuals who embody the values of Bob Hope: duty, honor, courage, loyalty, commitment, integrity, and selfless dedication. In addition to his impressive military career, Jay is also the commissioner of Howard County's the Office of Veterans and Military Families. He is also the founder and executive director of Act Now Education, a nonprofit organization dedicated to enhancing the quality of life of service members and their families worldwide. Jay's extraordinary contributions to the military community have helped over 24,000 and counting military members and their families with educational training and resources. His selfless dedication and passion for serving others make him an inspiration to all who know him. Publish the order. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, Jay, we made it. We made it. I've been working to get you on the show since last year, and here we are. How are you doing today?
Thank you, brother. I'm blessed. Like I said, it's thankful to be able to have this opportunity to share my story, share about what I'm doing, and hopefully inspire somebody to follow their goals, their paths, their dreams, and make things happen.
Oh man, so humble. How tall are you?
6'2". It was 6'2", 6'3" some days. Some good days, right?
All right. I was looking at the photo that we took at the MIC, and I was looking at how substantially tall you were compared to me. We'll talk about the MIC later. Where are you calling in from?
I'm currently in Singapore.
Yeah.
So I'm overseas. Yeah. A bit of travel. Yeah. I'm always on the road, but yeah, whenever I can have the opportunity to do this, I'm always down.
And I definitely appreciate you coming on. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. We're going to have a conversation. And look at this, because I've really been, you don't want to say the word stalking, but I've really been checking you out from different places, right? And I look forward to this opportunity to start to work on the relationship. So look at this as two guys, we're about to be friends, right? And now we're having a conversation, and you're giving me all of your information, and I'll tell you mine later.
Yes. I need that special recipe.
Yeah, I know that's right. So it is called hindsight, right? So we want to go back and we want to, look at how you became who you are, right, today, right? So that looks at exploring you when you were younger, some decisions that you made along the way, some hiccups, some challenges, some barriers, right? And I really like to focus on decision-making, how important decision-making is, right? Because that is the decisions you make based off of the choices that you have will inevitably make you who you are today, right? So just want to jump into that story. The biggest thing, because you're still in the military, right?
Yes, correct.
So what made you enlist in the Navy? Of all things. I'm an Army guy.
I'm going to be honest. Most people don't know this. It wasn't my first choice, but it made the most sense. I believe my grandfather, he served in the Vietnam War, and he was in the Air Force. And then my uncles were all in the Marine Corps. I didn't think I had anybody in the Army. One of my great uncles was in the Navy, but that's his whole story is a pretty interesting.
Oh, wow.
He's still UA. I think when I got to that point where I was trying to figure out what to do, and I just didn't want to stay in the city and not really make much of myself. I felt like I graduated high school. What's next? I tried to do the whole college route. Went to sign up and realized, those bills are due, right? And, I think it was I was signed up for a community college, and it was like $16,000. And at the time, I think I maybe, I was working 3 jobs or 2 jobs. Yeah, I was working 3 jobs at a time, and I wasn't making about $16,000. I'm like, so yeah, there's no way that I'm going to be able to afford this. And so I was trying to look for alternative opportunities. And my best friend, he joined the Marine Corps. And so he was like, hey, man, you should join the Corps. And I was like, I don't even know if I want to join the military. So I looked into it a little bit, went to the Air Force office to learn about what the Air Force does. No one was ever there. So I was like, oh, all right, let's go next. And then talked to my friend who was in the Marine Corps, going through the DEP program there. And I just realized that, they don't think the same way I do. I was like, man, I'm going to get myself in trouble if I go to the Corps. And then I actually signed up for the Army. The recruiters didn't tell me 100% of the truth. And so I really quickly realized that, I'm not going to go down that route. Yeah. And then 9/11 happened. It was the Navy, and I never looked back.
Okay. So 9/11 kind of motivated you to go ahead and, that was the straw that got you into the military?
Because, I was, like I said, I was trying to figure out what to do. Folks were going to college, folks were going to HBCUs, things. I didn't really have any plans. I was just like, I'm just going to work and just try to figure it out. But once 9/11 happened, and I remember going to school that day, seeing it on TV. I showed up school late that day. Seeing it on the TV when I was going to get a bagel right before going into school. And I'm thinking this is like another country or something. Didn't even know. And I live in Manhattan. So it was about 40 blocks or 50 blocks away from where my school was. And so
wow.
I looked at the news. Then I realized it's like New York. It's like, and I saw the trade tower. Then I was like, the World Trade Tower. Then I went outside, and you can see the smoke from where I was. And I was just like, damn. Yeah, it was just like that whole thing. And I don't even know how I ended up in the school. Like, I remember seeing the smoke, and then I ended up in the school. And then the school was on lockdown. The island was essentially on lockdown.
Right.
No one really can go anywhere. Then after that, I just remember, hearing about a lot of the folks that were going down there trying to help out, firefighters, policemen, volunteers. A lot of people did lose their lives trying to help out with, the debris and things that have happened, trying to find people. And I felt some type of way about not going down there. Obviously, everything was on lockdown, and they didn't want a lot of people down there without guidance and stuff. And I was a teen. I was like, that was the one time for me to do something, to stand up for, my country, stand up for my fellow civilians that, are just trying to live their lives, normal fellow New Yorkers. And, that always just bothered me. And so I ended up joining the Navy to serve. And then I swore in on the following year, 9/11.
9/11 was crazy. But I remember I was just coming back. It was me and 8 other guys. We were coming back from a leadership school. And I was in the S1 office doing my paperwork to get my reimbursements done for travel, my travel pay done. And the guy ran in and he was like, hey, a plane just went into the tower, or crashed into the tower. Now, mind you, we had an airplane. It was 9 of us just coming back from leadership school, but our brigade was in the air flying to Bosnia because we were on going to a peacekeeping mission out there. And then when the second one hit, then you start worrying, right? Because you're like, what is going on with airplanes? Besides 9/11, just going through the motions of trying to deploy, finally had a common reason, right, to come together as a country, right, to do your part. So how was it growing up? You said you grew up in New York?
Yeah, New York, Manhattan. I was born in the Bronx.
Okay.
And so for those who don't know, I'm 80s baby. So there was that time, there was the crack epidemic, so a lot of different things going on in the city. Not necessarily good. It was just really bad. And so I grew up in a foster care situation early on. I can't remember exactly when I went in there, but at a young age I did. Me and my sister, my older sister, she's 4 years older than me. And then from that situation, I learned a lot of life values as a child. Probably things you shouldn't learn due to situations you're exposed to. But I've learned that also has made me resilient in ways that, I still lean on that type of resiliency today when I'm dealing with something that is really hard for me to kind of work around because of that,
Right.
So I've learned a lot. And that's kind of been like the thing that's grounded me in my childhood is just, my childhood was kind of rough. Grew up in the city, grew up in a foster care. I mean, and, some kids, they get great opportunities and other kids, they get mistreated and abused. And I was one of the latter. I got mistreated and abused in the foster care system.
Right.
And unfortunately, like I said, a lot of kids that happens to. And I think because of that, it's definitely not, I don't think, I know because of that, it's made me who I am and the way that I am and how I try to reach out and help others. Because like I said, it's like no one was there to help me go through that. No one was there to help my sister go through that.
Right.
And so I use that now as, my armor to help others.
You earned 7, and tell me if it's 8 or 9, warfare qualifications during your military career.
Yeah.
Can you explain what these qualifications are and how they help you in your role, in your military role, and your, other than military role as well?
Absolutely. So when you are working on a particular platform or operating under a domain, so let's say like if you're working on submarines or you're working on surface ships or you're working, where aircraft, there is essentially a fundamental level of knowledge that you have to have. And the reason why this is important typically is because it'll provide you the ability to know what you're doing in case of something that goes wrong, but
Right.
also to save lives. Mm-hmm. So warfare devices, in a sense, give you a level of subject matter expert ability to know what to do, what type of information to share, and how to coordinate that. And so I think when I first deployed on some submarines, I earned my first warfare device, and I did it in a short amount of time. It was like less than 50 days, and that's unheard of. Because typically it takes people 6 months to earn this qualification. If you can consider it, it's kind of like trying to earn go through your master's and learn about a whole bunch of different things you have no clue about. I'm talking about, and a good example would be is how would you turn, urine into soup? And so that may sound crazy to who's listening to this, but that goes through the whole process of how do we push out, waste, and how do we bring in water, and how do we turn that water into soup so that the person can eat it? Not necessarily saying you're drinking waste.
Yeah, I get you.
What's the whole process? What systems goes into that? And so at a high level, it's a lot of information. You may not have like some understanding or familiarity with trim and drain system and everything, but you focus on it, you learn as much as you can, you get questioned on it, and then you go in front of a board and they grill you on it just to see if you know what you know. And it's not like maybe a 30-minute board, it's like a 4 or 5 hour board, right? And they give you lookup. So I was able to knock out quite a few qualifications in that lane, and be able to help me grow and expand and learn a lot of things about just different systems and operations. So submarine, surface, aircraft, expeditionary, earned my NAO as well. So it's like a lot of different certifications. I mean, not certifications, a lot of different qualifications I was able to knock out, and warfare devices I was able to knock out by going through that process of learning and, just asking questions and then being prepared for my board. I always was prepared for my board. So I was a knucklehead when I first joined. So I had a point to prove to myself. So that was one of the things that I would do, and I'll try to do it to the best of my ability.
Man, I tell you what, I used to take pride in my Soldier of the Month boards, right? You talking about submarine qualification. Hey, how was it riding? How was it on a submarine? Like, how long were you on a submarine when you went out? That's crazy.
So the longest I think I've been underway was probably about 3, close to almost close to 4 months. So not very long stints, but it was just multiple back to back. So it was a lot of trips back to back.
Okay. Do you stay up or down a lot? I know it's a submarine, so you probably underwater. Like how is that? And don't get too crazy about it, because Look, here's my one funny thing. It's not even funny. When I was in Hawaii, they used to have these dollar days. I was stationed in Hawaii. They had these dollar days. And so for $1, you can go to a luau, you can do a submarine ride, I think they had a helicopter ride, all these different things. You only have to pay $1, right? Usually like $100-something. But it's a day in May. So I went on the submarine ride, and it was all glass, so it's not like your submarine, but it's it's like all glass. You can see out, right? And I tell you what, after like 30 minutes, like I'm ready to come up. You feel me?
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty and everything. So how was that experience for you initially on your first, I guess, journey? Or you said
we definitely didn't have any windows, so I guess we definitely have any windows. But I think for me, it was just the people. The camaraderie on the submarine was like no other. It's more so like what you know, opposed from what your rank was, and so there was E4s, E5s. That, a lot of the crew depended on them, relied on them, gave them positions that, you typically see a chief do. And so it was that just blew my mind. The fact that, if you know your stuff well enough, and you're able to articulate that, the command will support you and push you to grow and be better. And I like I said, that was my first introduction to the military. And so I was like, this is amazing. So the camaraderie there, it's just like nothing I've ever seen since. My first introduction to the military, I'm glad I did it I didn't do it this way. The Army did it for me. But my first duty station was in Alaska, and I'm supply. So I was a supply guy, and I was stationed in Alaska in a combat engineering unit. And the reason why I say that I'm glad it went that way is because after that, I went to an MP unit, right? And it was nothing. It was really so I'm glad that I was able to get that camaraderie you talked about, right? Because when you're all in the suck, right, you only have each other, to kind of lean on and support each other. And I had great bonds with people, when we were in Alaska, and everything about it sucked, right? But the people was amazing. And then what I learned, I got stronger mentally, I got stronger physically, just from being out there and having to train in those harsh environments. I'm from Baltimore City, so going to Alaska, that was not my vision. I wanted to go to Maryland. You know what I'm saying? So they sent me all the way to Alaska. So I definitely hear you with the camaraderie. Looking back though, on your military career, what is the thing that you're most proud of accomplishing to this point? Because you're still in, right? You still got other things to accomplish. So this is another key thing that the military has told me, and I think this has to do with what my purpose is, and my path. I have been able to accomplish a lot, whether it be awards, warfare devices, sale of the year, stuff like that. And I put a lot of work into that, trying to be as much of a professional as possible. But I want to say roughly about my 8 or 9 year mark in the military, started, developing what ACTNOW is now, but sharing resources to others and telling them, hey, this is this opportunity that you should take advantage of. I was taking advantage of it myself. Like I was getting certifications. I remember I had no certifications. I was able to knock out like 17 certifications within a year and a half or so. And so I'm telling people about these programs, and there were a handful of folks that, they took the information and did whatever they did with it. But there were a handful of folks that came back to me and said, Jay, I took advantage of that. I was able to get this, now this door is open for me. And that's what changed a lot for me. I felt more value in helping others achieve their goals than the things that I was actually trying to achieve myself.
Right.
When I got my certifications, I mean, I'm very proud of everything I've done, but as soon as I get there, like what's next? Right.
Right.
But when someone came up to me like, Jake, look, you showed me how to get my bachelor's in 6 months, and because of that, now I'm on the line to become a teacher. And now he is a teacher. He's been teaching for years, and he had all the credits. He just didn't know how to put it all together. And so he's like, yeah, man, now I get to do what I love, and work with students to be able to help them. Him coming to me and telling me that, that just made me like take a step back and was like, I help assist somebody do something that they were passionate about. And now that effect has, it now has effect on a lot of other people. Yeah. And so that's what changed everything for me. And that's why I was like, I'm going to do my best to kind of put this information out there, share it as much as I can. And then I I did my first, because I'm not a public speaker. I did my first event where I was sharing information, and that was so bad. I was like, oh man, I'm never doing this again. I'm done. Act Now education, that can go away. I'm done. But my NCO, my senior chief at the time, he was there and he saw me from, because I was I was stuttering, mumbling. I was like, trying to read the slides. I was just doing too much, and it just didn't go well at all. Right. He was like, I saw that, and I was like, yeah, I tried. And I was like, I'm just gonna keep on moving on. And he's like, yeah, but you're gonna do it again. And I was like, not senior, you saw that, like that was bad. I'm not doing that again. He's like, you're gonna do that again. And I was like, no, I'm not. Let's see, I'm done. And he's like, this is not a question. This is not me asking you. This is me telling you. And because of that, I got better at it. And so I'm thankful that, like I said, I had key people in my life as well to kind of push me during that direction.
Wow. All right, you brought it up. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Act Now education. I wish I met you while I was in. Well, you may not have been in. But, the reason why I say that is because towards the end of my career, I started focusing on what you're talking about now. I was not aware of it. I was not aware of certifications, free, all those different things. But when I was faced with transitioning from the military, I knew that I wasn't mentally prepared, right? Just like going into basic, you're not really mentally prepared, and they'll get you up to snuff. So I reached out to, it wasn't like I reached out, but somebody gave me some information, sort of like what you would do. This is what you can do. Check out this program, right? And I checked out the program. And from that, you start learning all these other programs, right? All of these different people and organizations that are invested in you succeeding, right? But I did it so late because I held on too tightly to the military career for fear of transitioning out and not understanding what to look forward to coming out. So I just bring that, just tell you a little bit about me. But as the founder of Act Now Education, what's your organization's mission? And who do you help? You help the families, the service people. How does Act Now work?
So Act Now, thank you for that. Act Now is focused on upskill and reskilling, helping the military community. So military spouse, veteran, transition service member, reservist, National Guard, veteran military spouse, because there's a small demographic of them that they don't really have many resources. Not small demographic, but there's a small a small toolbox of resources that are available to veteran military spouses. And so, we were just like, we're really focused on being able to help across the board our military community achieve success, grow, reskill, upskill, and find opportunities. But what we do is really focus on trying to help folks land jobs, right? That's the overall. These things are supposed to lead to either a job opportunity or you getting, a promotion at your current position, or possibly going to a new role and then landing in that new role. And so that's what Act Now is about. Everybody on the team is volunteers, including myself. No one's paid. Everything that we get, any money that we receive, all goes back to the community because we really want to be able to have that impact. And we want the community to be a part of this. And that's why it was like our organization is like a crowdsourced organization. Essentially, everything is about the community. We're focused on the community. And the community is what makes us who we are.
Wow. That, I tell you what, that's awesome. I think it was a vet CTAP. I think it was. So they got the TAP, I think, for the Marines when they're transitioning out, and they got CTAP, I think, for the Army. But it was this one in California, because I'm in California now, where it was, I think it's vet CTAP. And it was every Monday or Tuesday for like so many weeks. And I tell you what, I learned so much. One about certifications, one about just writing a resume, right? Because hell, I had been in the Army for 26 years. So, the last job I had I did have a good job before I came in the Army, but, before that, that was 20 some years ago. So whatever skill sets I had to make that happen were kind of gone. But just the people who were there and how they were so invested, you know what I mean, in your success, in your overcoming your fears, right, of you taking that step, right, and preparing yourself. It really, when I heard about Act Now, that's what I felt, that warm feeling, right? I had a guy, he used to be a defense attorney, but he didn't feel it in his heart because he was defending bad people, right? Yeah. So he got out of that, and now he's a veteran advocate, I guess you would call it, right? But he has his own business. I think it's a little bit for profit. But he took me aside. He took my resume because I was getting no hits when I got out. He took my resume, rewrote it, looked horrible to me, right? As soon as it went out, I was getting all kind of callbacks. Come in for an interview, right? And it's just what you all do is so impactful for the service person, especially for people who spent their whole careers in the military. It's so impactful. And that's why I said, hey, I call you Superman on the slide. You ain't never heard me say it, But for real, because that stuff is so meaningful. And what I do, my little part is I let people know, hey, there are a lot of people out there betting on your success, right? You need to reach out. And I may start off with a VSO, someone like that, right? And VSO usually has connections or some understanding of community, things that are going on in the community as well that can help you out. So, go ahead. Do you have something on that? I didn't ask you a question. I'm just talking about my.
No. Yeah. So, I mean, but that is definitely that is, unfortunately, that's the story for a lot of folks, right? Trying to figure it out, what that looks like. And then the fear of, I don't know if I'm taking the right steps or have the knowledge or have the connections or the network, all these different components. And, especially when it comes across, you come across somebody that they get out and they got a job right away and everything is working out. And you compare yourself, right? Because you're like, well, I mean, if that person could do something wrong with what I'm doing. I'm doing truth. Yeah. And so, it becomes those things that have an effect on you. And then when you have months gone by and you don't got a phone, you don't receive any phone calls and you're like, my resume is out there, I'm doing everything everyone's saying, but I'm not yielding any results.
Right. That
could be a really tough time. And so that's why we really do focus on programs that really help, get people on the right track. Right. Sometimes it has nothing to do about what you know, but who you know, right? And unfortunately, if you don't really have the right connections for that, or knowing who in the industry you need to talk to do some information or interviews, it can have an effect on your progression outside the military. So definitely, I definitely feel that. But the crazy thing to us is there's so many opportunities, and so many organizations out there that are available, that it can just make it a lot more easier for folks when they do that transition. So you don't have some of those fear factors that kick in.
There are so many. I mean, I took it. The one that I didn't take advantage of was it PMP, project management.
Oh, we can still take advantage of that. I mean, we can still. We could. There's still opportunities. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, we can still jump on that. Yeah, the O2O program is still kicking.
Yeah. I say that no, it's not that I didn't take advantage of it because something happened. I didn't, because when I got the book, I was like, oh wow, right? So no, but I will talk to you about that one because that is something that I wanted to finish up that PMP program. So. What advice would you give to family members, service people, veterans? And I know you said, connections, right, and having that person, but for those educational opportunities and things like that, what is the most impactful maybe bit of advice or information you can give to them?
I would say, don't try to follow someone else's path.
That's good.
in the military, it's easy. And this is the thing that we got to understand. In the military, it's really easy for us to stay on track because there's people that are above us doing what they need to do and people who are behind us that's watching and learning from us, right? And so we are able to, okay, that's if I want to be, E6, these are the things I need to do because this is what my supervisor is doing. My NCO is doing this. If I want to be an E7, this is what I need to be, right? Because this is what and so this isn't like kind of ingrained in us is like following these tracks. When we transition out the military, those tracks are no longer there, right? And so we just see people doing different things, and then we try to grab at it without the context.
Right.
And I think that has a major effect on, our success because then we start to question our capabilities, what we're doing and how we're doing it. But you're comparing yourself to somebody else that's not in the same boat as you. You guys, that person may be in chapter 5, you're in chapter 6, but you guys different levels of understanding. And so I think that's the biggest thing is really not trying to follow someone else's path. It's good to inform yourself on a path, right? And learn from others. But how does that incorporate into the things that you're trying to do? You should be building your own playbook, right? Yeah. Because what worked for somebody else may not necessarily work for you and vice versa. Just like you said, when I saw that PMP book, I was like, I know this is not for me right now, right?
Right.
But many people have jumped on that, right? And was like, all right, I'm going to be a PMP. I'm going to get this certification. And then they show up and there's like, what PMP jobs are available? I mean, and they're not too familiar or sure which route they want to take, right? You can be a PMP in construction, which is completely different from being a PMP doing like project development or something like that, or working for an organization that does acquisitions. And so understanding where you want to go, I think is the most important part. Knowing where to find the resources, I would say is the tertiary part that you kind of got to fill in. But like I said, not just trying to follow anybody's path. Design your own path. Figure it out. What is it that you want to do? Ask people questions that are at those stages in the life, so that way you can get a better understanding of which directions to go, and then start to implement your path and build that out, and then start working that journey.
Man, so look, you're an advocate for success, right? You're like a liaison for success, right? But can you take a step back, and maybe share a failure or a setback, right? And how you overcame that failure, something, that was kind of impactful. And I know hopefully something popped into your head. But
I mean, I have a plenty of failures. I felt every day almost, right? It's like, for me, I got this one life to live, and I am not going to always get it right. I'm not going to be perfect at things. And I've learned that, the fear of not being able to do something or the fear of failure, that the only limiting aspect of that is me, right? Just telling myself that I can't do this, or because of these reasons. I've never gotten anything out of, not trying. So if anything, there's a lesson for me to learn. And so I look at life in that perspective. And so, there's plenty of opportunities I've jumped on, and I was like, I'm going to take advantage of this and do that and work it out. And then it was just like, that was horrible.
Yeah.
But it's the lessons that are worth it for me. And so I don't look at failure the same as many folks do, because, I'm just not afraid to fail. I'm just like, I know I'm not going to get things right. And to have that type of expectation, I mean, I'm human. And so I just try to work at everything as best as I possibly can. But I'll give you an example. So like when I first started getting into business, aside from the military, aside from Mac now, I do have a for-profit, and that's it does. I focus on business coaching. And so I've coached well over 60 businesses, and the goal is to scale them up to 6-figure businesses and help them grow. And this is, I'm helping minority businesses grow and expand. And I work with PepsiCo, and I work with the Greater Baltimore Urban League. And so I'm a hired coach for them. And so I took an opportunity to provide some assistance on a particular project. And this project, I knew I had no business trying to touch. Not to say like I didn't have the capabilities. It's more so like I didn't have the time to do it.
Right.
There wasn't a lot of support for it. And, you know, the folks that were running it, they were just running it too poorly. And me thinking who I am, I was like, nah, I'm going to turn this, you know, ship around. I'm going to make everything work out. I'm going to get things done. I'm going to bring some people in. No. I got ran over for this.
Wow.
As soon as I got to do with that, I got ran over.
Right.
And the thing was, it cost me money and it cost me time.
Yeah.
The money I wasn't too worried about because I was trying to fix the problem, and it was like all the money that I received for it, it just, you know, it didn't work out.
Right.
But the time I could not get back. And so that taught me a good lesson that, you know, not everything is for me.
Right.
And I really have to make a better assessment about how I want to move in my life and the things I want to do. And so that was a big lesson learned for me. And like I said, it's something that helped me grow.
Yeah, that's
in business.
You know, for me, I like to learn stuff. Right. I like to learn a lot of things. Yeah. And sometimes, you know, with the way things are today, it's easy access to a lot of information. Right. And sometimes I get in trouble with that because I get a little aggressive, and it's just not even like for profit type. So it's just me learning something. Right. And the biggest thing that you just mentioned is time. Right. For me, I've tried all type of different things. And excuse me, I got a cold, so I'm just getting over the flu. So I sound a little stuffy, right? But I'm really trying to be more impactful with my decisions, right? That's why I did Hindsight the Podcast, because not only am I trying to bring people out who I believe could tell an interesting story, right, and give some key insights on decision making and choices and these things. But it's also therapeutic for me, right? So now I can also learn some lessons. So that's why, you know, I enjoy talking to remarkable people like yourself, right? Just to get your insight. What is a good strategy for you? And I know quite a few of them, right? To kind of get in alignment with, you know, setting up goals and getting in alignment with what it is that you want to achieve. Like, how far ahead do you look? Do you look like, before I die, I want to do this? Or are you looking like, next year I want to have accomplished this? Like, how do you approach that?
I break down my year into 12 weeks. And so I have a lot of goals based off of like a 12-week cycle. So my year is really 12 weeks. Like, okay. What I'm going to do in the next 12 weeks. Then I have like a strategic plan that these are the things that I'm like to accomplish within the next 1 to 2 years. And then the goals that I have connected to them are the activities that I take place. So say example, and I give you, this is kind of crazy. I had 2 goals, right? When I transitioned out of the military, for my retirement, I wanted to do a hiring fair. I wanted to do my first hiring fair when I retired in 2027. That was my goal.
Right.
And most people don't know this. In 2023, I ended up doing that, unbeknownst to me. Like, but I put that out there. I was like, this is what I want to do. And then, strangely enough, and like I don't think it's coincidence, that opportunity just ended up being available for me to do and me to run. So, I try to really just like be like smart about the things that I'm trying to do and how I'm trying to do it. If the biggest thing I would say, I won't say the biggest, the hardest thing for me is saying no to certain things or telling myself no. Yeah. Like I said, I got a mentality that if I'm going after something, I want to go after it, but it may not be the right season. It may not be the right moment. Okay. Or the right time. Right. And me wanting what I want, right? Or us, being in our own world, being in our own box, we put ourselves in these predicaments. And so understanding that, does this align with what I'm currently doing? Right. If it does, okay, great. If it doesn't, is this more important than what I'm currently doing?
Right.
How do I kind of build out that? And so that's kind of like where I'm at now. And that's why like a lot of the things I've kind of shifted to focus on either, results and impact and helping people get roles and jobs, or because before, back in the day,
right.
If anyone called up Act Now Education back in like, was it 2021 when we only had like 300 people or so in the group? Now we got about 70,000. I used to take one-on-one calls all the time. And so I used to, oh yeah, let's talk. Okay. And I talk to them and they tell me what they need or where they're at in their career. And I would write them out a detailed list of opportunities that they should do. And I did about maybe 200 of those things. I can't do that now. I don't have the ability to do that now.
Right.
And so it's being able to shift your focus on what matters and making an impact and how you be efficient. So now I know that the steps that I'm taking, rather than just helping 200 people, is going to be able to help 5,000 people or 10,000 people because of how I'm moving it. And so but it's just really having clear, smart goals that have really defined things that lead up to it. And so I try not to I don't have like a 5-year, 10-year plan because I know things change all the time.
Too far,
But I do have roughly, my 12-week plan, my 1-year plan, my 2-year plan, and working that out.
I like it. I had a question while you were talking. I had a question because it was about goals, it was about plans. Anyway, it happens to all of us. I know what it was. Where you're on the what is it in Salisbury in Howard County?
Oh yeah, the
Office of Veterans and Military Families. You're still doing that?
Yes, I'm a commissioner for the Howard County. I'm a Howard County commissioner.
And how I smiled when I read that, right? Because I'm from Maryland. And you're from New York. So how did you start this up in Howard County? And you said some other places in Maryland too. So what is your space? Tell me your Maryland story.
So it's based off of my career. It's kind of strange,
Of course.
Most people, you may go to like 7 or 8 different duty stations, different locations. I've only been stationed in 3 locations. I've been stationed in Hawaii, I've been stationed in Maryland, and I've been stationed in Bahrain. And that's it. I haven't had any other tours, multiple units within those areas.
Yeah.
But I've been in Maryland since 2011. 2010, actually. No, 2010. I got here in 2010. And I've been here ever since.
Wow.
Took a quick deployment to Bahrain, but my family stayed in Ellicott City, Maryland. When I was talking to my wife about, I forgot what we were talking about, but, Act Now Education is on a national level. Everything that we do is obviously virtual, but we're trying to help people all over the military community. Yeah. And then she was like, you're doing all this, but you don't do anything local. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I mean, this is my backyard. This is where I'm at. I do presentations and stuff and things like that. I do ERGs, speak at ERGs and things like that. But I'm not really like in it helping the veterans and military families the way that I want to. And so a commissioning opportunity came up to be a commissioner. And so I definitely jumped on that, and I love it. We meet once every month to kind of talk about just different opportunities that, we're trying to help provide the military community in the local area. And so that's how that came about. Yeah. And it's just, And so I've been doing that. And then, like I said, working with the Greater Baltimore Urban League. So I'm working with, business owners. I'm working with, entrepreneurs. I'm working with youth in Baltimore to kind of help them with their endeavors. And so I just got tied into, the Maryland community.
Thank you.
Not from one of the two high schools, right? You either got to be from one school or together. I forgot what they call that, but in Baltimore.
Tell you what, I left Baltimore. Thank you, Mom. Before I had to go to high school, so I think I was. They was already recruiting too. I was. I think I was supposed to go to Pimlico, Supposed to go to Pimlico. And they were like, hey, come play football. I was like, I'm going to Southern Maryland. So
But man,
that's good stuff. Yeah, it is a nice place. Take away the taxes, but it's a nice place. And you got a lot of different connections. And, I make these lightly. One, I'm from Maryland. Two, I always wanted to go to Bahrain, but I never was able to go. And I was also stationed in Hawaii. I was stationed over at Schofield Barracks, though, for 3 years. So that was another one. I went from Alaska back to Maryland with the MP unit. And then from Maryland, I went to Hawaii to a light infantry unit. So when I got to Hawaii, everyone's like, oh, it's going to suck. But I had already been prepared, right, from going to Alaska. So it wasn't too bad. But yeah, so that's I'm just doing my separation, 6 degrees or whatever of separation with your career. So that's pretty cool. So I asked you a lot of questions, a few of them, right? But is there anything that I haven't brought up that you'd like to share with the listeners or share with me? I'll tell you, I'm here learning too.
Yeah. I would definitely want the listeners to this is something, these are the things that I do. It works for me. And like I said, if it does work for them, I would highly recommend for them to try to see what works for them. But the important thing is be like a lifelong learner. Understand, your learning habits, what works best for you. And continually, feed yourself information that's going to be beneficial. Right. I remember there was a point in time in my life where I was just feeding myself garbage. I wasn't like the stuff that I was watching, the stuff that I was listening to, the stuff that I was surrounding myself with, and the people that I was surrounding myself with wasn't helpful. And my life changed when that changed. When I was like, I'm here for a purpose. I'm trying to get things right. I may not get things right all the time, but I really want to be able to be intentional with my time and focus on things that I'm trying to learn. So be a lifelong learner. Find things that's going to help you grow as an individual. Don't be comfortable with being comfortable. Right. Try to be uncomfortable as much as possible, because those challenges are going to draw things in you that you never knew you had. And I've realized throughout my life, every time I've had a challenge and I've been able to overcome it, I've been able to grow from it. And so I would say those things, right? And follow your goals and follow your dreams, and make sure that, they're realistic, and you're finding the people that can help you get there, and understanding how best to network to kind of get over those bridges. But yeah, that's what I would possibly say.
I love it, because, even with the mind, learning in the mind, right, that physical part too. So you learn a lot from the military, from the physical aspect of things. And that was one of the things. I was platoon sergeant when I got to, I grew to be the platoon sergeant when I got to Hawaii. And I used to always tell the guys, hey, because of light infantry, because it wasn't none of the guys, so I'm not trying to. But, I was telling them, get your mind right. If you're running right now and you're comfortable, you're not pushing yourself. You know what I'm saying? This is the time right now to push yourself, because when we get out there and we got to get to it, you're going to, like you said, you got a limited time. You got a limited time to get yourself right, to get where you need to be right before it all happens. So a lot of lessons in the military can be learned that you definitely carry over into the civilian side of things. A lot of soft skills and plenty of hard skills as well. So I appreciate you sharing all of that with us, Jay. I want to call you Josh so bad, man. I just want to say Josh.
It's okay. Most people do that. They I've known people for like 10 years, 10, 11 years. They're like, hey, Josh. Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, but thank you for joining me on Hindsight the Podcast. And it's been sorry, my foot's hurt me. It's been a pleasure getting to talk to you. And hopefully this is just the beginning. And it's not hopefully. This is just the beginning, of me reaching out and, tapping you on the shoulder and asking you for some advice. And hopefully you do the same to me, right? Absolutely. And I do have, hopefully, we'll talk about it after the show, but I do have a proposal and something to ask you as well.
Absolutely.
And if you say yes, then we'll talk about it on the show, on another podcast.
That's how it starts.
All right. But anyway, once again, thank you for being a guest on Hindsight the Podcast. Definitely a pleasure, and we'll talk. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.